Oh yeah. That's the way we like to start. Little ASMR of pouring wine, brought to you by WineShark Wednesday. Hello, everybody. I hope we are all doing well on this fine fall Wednesday. This is our Halloween pairing special here today. We're going to talk, we're going to recap a little bit about last year, this time we did a serious pairing for Halloween candy. We're going to touch on some of those things again, just for review purposes, but then we're also going to talk about what adults do for Halloweens, etc., and kind of go from there. But to get you guys updated on some things that are going on, we just finished the wines of our Flavors of Fall special at Reunion Tower on Sunday. So thanks to all the folks that came out and joined us for that. That was a heck of a lot of fun. Probably one of my favorite seasons. Again, I can't stress this enough, and most of these shows that you're going to hear over the season, this is, end of harvest is just a great time for wine. Not because we're getting this year's wine yet, of course, but because it's celebratory, so we're drinking last year's and onward wine, plus the flavors of fall, the bounty of everything coming in. We're going to talk about fall flavors here in a minute when we talk about adult activities for Halloween. So anyway, point is, it was a great show, really enjoyed everybody, but we are now setting the holiday primer for Thanksgiving. That will be the Sunday right before Thanksgiving, which, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly, is the 21st. The 21st of November down at the Tower. We're going to teach you how to pair wines up for your perfect Thanksgiving or holiday festive meal. So great examples, and the timing will be great. So I hope you guys go out and join me for that. We've had wonderful success and a lot of fun out there. So keep on keeping on with me up there at the Tower. It's a heck of a lot of fun. In other news, next week, no show. Why, you may ask? Because I'm not going to be here. Well, or maybe I'll figure out a way to do something cool and live cast. Again, I've been saying this about trying to be able to do a Facebook Live bit because YouTube, I don't have enough followers yet. You guys are lovely, but I can't do the live cast. So maybe when we're going to be in Lodi next Wednesday with the tour group. So perhaps I'll get a chance to do some live streaming from Lang Twins or Clinker Brick. So anyway, we're going to be on tour from Wednesday through Sunday, so I'm not going to be around. But that's another thing that you guys should consider. Elevate and shift your FOMO down into third gear. We're going to be going to a bunch of different wineries. I'm going to send out, in fact, I need to send out an update to all the tour participants. We've got most of the reservations secured. We're going to visit Freemark Abbey and Rombauer. We're going to visit Ridge and Alexander Valley Vineyards. We're going to visit Lang Twins and Clinker Brick. I think we're going to go up to Clear Lake to the group that now owns Steel Wines. We're going to visit their Vigilance Tasting Room, which is a greater group that now owns the Steel Wines, because Steel Winery is under renovation right now for their Mercantile Room, which will be open again in, I believe, next year. So anyway, point is, lots of fun wine things coming up, and you too should join me out in California to see some awesome wine country this time of year. It takes just 6 guests, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a very bespoke kind of tour where we're going to take you around to some big places, small places, fun places, places you've never heard before, and places you've probably heard about in the news. So it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys can join us someday. Get your friends together, get a group together, and we can go in the spring for Bud Break. So anyway, let's talk about Halloween. Let's talk about Halloween wines. What we're drinking today, by the way, the grocery store grab, I'm going to give you guys just a little preview. We've got ourselves here a little bit of Inconspicuous Zinfandel. This is actually from the Flavors of Fall show on Sunday that I had left over. So we're going to be continuing to drink it, and we'll talk about why it's cool. So Dave and Mary Thomas say hello. Hello from Dave and Mary. Well, we're looking to see Dave and Mary are going to join us on the tour. You guys are going to get an update from me in the email this evening. So I'm excited. I hope you are as excited as I am. But let's talk about Halloween, and what the Halloween holiday, of course, we usually associate with trick-or-treating, right? Especially as kids growing up, trick-or-treating, although sadly has been in the decline in the modern era, but something that I still hope that people are able to engage in, as I have very fond memories of Halloweens from my youth, trick-or-treating with kids and going through various, neighborhoods, haunted houses, and all that kind of thing. But that means candy collection. And parents, i.e. those of legal drinking age, tend to crib, let's say, and maybe peruse or perhaps tax their children on their candy haul. Because let's just face it, who can resist the awesome temptations of a Kit Kat or a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup or a Mounds and Almond Joy or a pack of Smarties? So candy is going to be very prevalent over the course of the next month as we wheedle through the hopefully awesome trick-or-treating stash. Now, because this is a popular topic, you're seeing tons of wine influence slash sellers slash people involved in the industry who are promoting trick-or-treat, basically Halloween candy pairings. And I've got to say, I'm trying to look up on my Instagram here while I say it because I saw one earlier today from Wine Enthusiast. And I'm like, this is what I was kind of railing against when I did this show last year, and that is, I think they take more what's going to be in. They take what's more likely to be in your trick-or-treat bag and try desperately to pair wines with it, rather than admitting sometimes some of the stuff in there doesn't particularly pair well. I'm not coming up with the thing. For example, I still don't buy the candy corn and Chardonnay argument that I keep seeing floating around the internet. First off, that's not just because I have personal aversion to candy corn. It's just candy corn is still just colored sugar. It tastes nothing like corn, right? It doesn't have anything corn with it. So I don't know why that would suddenly sugar and Chardonnay in any form would be a good idea. So be wary. Take all the lessons I've ever taught you out there and question everything when they're trying to force you to buy wine just because you happen to like, a Mounds or an Almond Joy. So I just remember that the other simple rule that your wine's got to, generally speaking, has got to be sweeter than your chocolate. So that puts a large body of the dry wine that's in the world out of your way. So think really sweet wines if you're going to have milk chocolate. Otherwise, unless your people are really, really awesome in your world and give you, 87% single source Costa Rican chocolate, which would be the best. I'm just saying, that's how trick-or-treating should be for adults. See? Candy corn and sugar. You see, there it is. Rob's right. Rob agrees with me that, there's a no thing. So anyway, for those of you that don't trick-or-treat anymore, don't have the opportunity to participate, you just like candy for candy's sake, which is totally awesome by me, let's talk about what you might end up pairing wines with on the upcoming holiday. Now that we're in much better social positions here, hopefully some of you are having Halloween parties, that you're getting back together with your vaccinated friends, and you are having a good time hanging out on Halloween. Whether it's in costume or not, the flavors of fall thing kind of apply here. Because generally speaking, as adults, we will have candy bowls and candy dishes available. There will be sweets of various types, but parties tend to have a lot more wide variety of food. And especially because it is themed to the season, much of it also tends to go themed to fall as well. So leveraging what I was talking about on Sunday on the Fall Wines of Fall show, let's talk about what those flavors really are. When we say flavors of fall, what does it mean? Now, obviously you guys here in the chat can answer this question on your own, but what kind of things come to mind for you guys? For me, it kind of starts in the world of kind of things that are coming in from harvest. Of course, the taste, it reminds me of wine, but apples, right, are supremely kind of one of those fall kind of flavors that are very much associated with this. Pumpkins and squashes, and as my sister would say, the edible gourd category, because it's always fun to work gourd into a conversation. Edible gourds, right? So you're talking butternut squashes and summer squash, even though it's not summer anymore, and pumpkins tend to come out on the table either as vegetables to be consumed directly and or worked into other things. I'm working a wonderful butternut squash, a roasted cinnamon butternut squash soup that's a very kind of sweet sort of soup starter for a meal, which is very interesting. It's very lightly sweet, and then you serve it with a little bit of butter on there, and it's a really fun thing. It's like a liquid sweet potato. So sweet potatoes, there's another one, not a personal fan of, but they're very fall flavor if you ask me. We think about spices. First off, once again, It's pumpkin pie spice. There's no such thing as pumpkin spice because we don't use pumpkins to spice anything. It's a pumpkin pie spice. And that group of spices in particular that remind us so much of fall are things like cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice and mace, right? Those kind of things are very, very conditional that we use in those sort of preparations of cooking. And you could also even add in, I would say, this the more savory side of your herb garden. This is where more thyme slash sage comes in, and rosemary is very much more a fall flavor, whereas I consider things like tarragon and basil and dill more spring summer flavors, right? They're bright, fresh, open, whereas those other flavors are more savory. A good crisped up sage and brown butter is a really fall flavor to me. So when we talk about flavorings, that's another area we can talk about. Then, of course, there's the iconic fall holiday season that kind of comes along. Everything all right up to and including our Christmas dinners tends to be driven by that festival of eating kind of tradition. The idea that now is when the bounty is, now is when we're slaughtering animals and preparing for the long cold winter and what we're that time of leanness that we're going to have over the next couple of months. Well, while in our modern world we don't necessarily have that, our dining traditions tend to go that same way. Big feasts, turkey often a feature, but not for all families. Hams, especially another one. Roast beef around Christmas tend to be the kind of just distinct celebratory meal flavors, and several surrounding flavors that go with that. If we think about the cornbread stuffings or the oyster bread stuffings that you may use inside your turkey as a stuffing or outside your turkey as a dressing, any one of those, most of those tend to have flavors that match along with things like onions and celery and root vegetables, like carrots. They're very earthy flavors. So this is what I'm talking about when we talk about broad fall flavors, right? It's not bright and fresh, it's more savory and earthy, and that's where we're going to be thinking about in our fall wine choices. So, not to steal some of my own thunder from shows that are coming next month, but it all kind of ties in together. In other words, I can't keep recreating the wheel for everything here when we talk about it. So, wines. Now, what I'm drinking right now are Inconspicuous Zinfandel, and I will segue again to the official grocery store grab later. It's a perfect example of wine I associate with fall. The wines that you really want to go with need to be that kind of robust. They need to have the spices that go along in that brown spice category. We talk about things like things that are buttery, like I said, the more buttery sides of Chardonnays are fun, or even leveraging apples. As I said, apples, apple pies, and all sorts of apple preparations are something I consider very fall. So things like Chenin Blanc have a wonderful kind of yellow honey crisp apple kind of thing going on. Really a great pairing when we're pairing them with those fall flavors of apples. They're too bright, I think, for many of the earthy things, but they're great for your dessert table. They're great for your charcuterie and your cheeses because they're light. And in your cheese categories, but this is also a time where smoked cheeses can really kind of sell. Not to use a weird tangent there, but careful with smoked cheeses. Smoked cheeses can be one of those tricky cheeses to pair wines with, because with any degree of sweetness, I find, you're going to get a very metallic taste out of your cheese. The example I had from Sunday wasn't one that was intentionally paired, but the wines were adjacent. So we had a Artecasa smoked Gouda, right? So that's Gouda cheese to us Americans. A Gouda cheese, smoked Gouda. And and I had that with a Chardonnay, right? That was the intended pairing. Whereas, so we had that with a light red. I apologize. So we had it with a Gamay, with a nice little Morgon. So that was a nice little robust pairing. It could kind of match with each other. The Gamay is a light red wine, but the cheese is a little bit on the stronger side, so they paired up rather well as they gave room for one another. However, the wine right before it was the Chenin Blanc that I served with what they called Zelotech apples from New York. Well, the apples paired really well with the Chenin Blanc, but when I tried later, I tried a sip of this with the Gouda. No-go zone. Very much one of those train wrecks in your mouth that I kind of talk about are infrequent. Smoked cheeses is one of the things I'm adding to my list of let's put a warning sticker on that so that people don't say they ran into things awfully. So, but you can't say, oh yeah, David Mary said that Total Wine has a candy pairing suggestions. Absolutely, because they're in the business of selling wine. That's one of the places that I saw it today, not today, but this week that reminded me of it. And Rob's saying it is the rice sausage dressing for one. Yes, that was absolutely the Lolly's dressing that is our family tradition. Has all those flavors, Rob. It's got sage and it's got rosemary and it's got lots of. So now here's another one I need to look up. I know that poultry seasoning goes on poultry, but I don't know what is in poultry seasoning other than sage. But we usually use one of those jars of flavored poultry seasoning. But yeah, that's a great. It's got onions and sausage and wild rice. Wild rice. There's another great flavor that I think there is fall. So anyway, dead on when you say flavors of fall there. So when you think about your wine selections, rather than just specific pairings, think broadly towards the things that are be more on the savory side, less on the sweet. These are not opportunities where a lot of sweet wines do really well. The Zinfandel, the warmer reds, the things that are going to have medium to high alcohol content, but then have that jammy component that are kind of very mouth-filling and round. This is one of the, again, my favorite wine styles tended to live in there as well. Things like Syrahs and Cabernet Francs. You can have Zinfandels, you can have Cabernet Sauvignons. There's lots to be said for Malbecs in that same sort of range, right? And depending on the region you're in for your Cabernet Sauvignons, you can even get different versions of the same thing, whether you're in Chile or California or France. They're all interesting in their own way, but really make strong partners for strong foods. Now, when it comes to Turkey, Pinot Noir is still my favorite, hands down king. Gamay, of course, is so light and easy, and we're going to have the whole talk about Gamay Beaujolais again, because again, it's just a great annual tradition and one of my favorite wines. So anyway, let's get swift into the grocery store grab then, so I don't keep you guys too long. For those of you that don't know, the grocery store grab the premise is to get the best value per dollar for your wines found at non-big box and non-specialty retailers. So if you don't have access to a great wine store, or you don't shop at a big liquor store that's from a major chain or something, if you happen to shop at the grocery store out of necessity and or convenience, one of the challenges you might face is not having good access to good assistance helping choose your wine. So we focus on label focusing, about how to choose a wine based on its label, and really how to look for wines that have very helpful, useful flavor words. In fact, actually, I'm going to use an example that I got from a friend of mine today. Scott sent me a wonderful example that he picked up over at Central Market of several different wines that had excellent thematic Halloween fronts. In other words, things that would absolutely fit in our spooky wine theme for Friday, but also had really excellent descriptors on the back. He had one called Big Red Monster. Big Red Monster Cabernet Sauvignon, expressive black currant and cedar on the nose, robust and bold, overflowing with berry and spice. See, that's a wine descriptor. That tells you what you should be expecting in the bottle, which I think is great. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Where's the grape grown? Who makes the wine? What kind of human understandable flavors can we have on the bottle? Now, my grocery store grab was not picked for this purpose. My grocery store grab was picked specifically because it's a fall-like flavor, and more importantly, because it's got a very cool kind of funky label here, the Inconspicuous label. In fact, why don't I stop holding up the bottle and show you the graphic that I bothered to download. If you look at here, the Inconspicuous label's got this gentleman laying down with these tiny people, and actually this gentleman must be some sort of giant because there's people crawling all over his face. On the back, the Inconspicuous text is very gothic and fun, and the labeling itself is a rather whimsical example of label styling, kind of muted, worn paper. And one of the things I must say, even their barcode on the back is actually the profile of the giant on the front. But here's what the bottle says. The truth does not require an aggressive advocate. Our truths are the quality of our grapes and the skill of our winemaker. The text is tiny and, the text is tiny and italic. We ferret out the easily missed elements of flavor inherent in the grapes of quality, fruit, and spice notes that are often overlooked in haste but given their due in this wine. The result? delicious wine, but go ahead and judge for yourself. So, fruit and spice is really the only words that I'm getting out of that tell me what this should be tasting like. And so, this is not necessarily a great example of a wine label that is telling you what the wine tastes like. The example I used from before that Scott sent me, much more functional in my opinion than what we have here. However, I've had this wine before. That's why I brought it to the that's why I brought it and used it in the Flavors of Fall show, because it does fit all of those things. This is a classic Sonoma County Sonoma County, and they make a Lodi version of it, Zinfandel. So this Zinfandel as a grape, if we don't, this is the thing that they need to be telling us more of. Has nice, bold fruit flavors. Now this one runs a little hot. It's about 15% alcohol by volume. I'd prefer that down a little bit, just a little bit. Looks like we're getting a little bit of flatback from the sun here, and so unfortunately, I chose not to close the blinds today because it was a nice cloudy day. And now it's going to make that happen. I'm going to feel like a little washed out fool in the front. Oh, Mary says it's the Lilliputians and Gulliver on the cover. I like that. Seems very apt as well. I watched a video from Love, Death, and Robots recently about a fallen giant, though. That also reminds me of it. Rather grim. But anyway. Classic Zinfandel has all the things that we're looking for in fall. So let's take a look at this and find out whether this really meets those needs. As I said, this wine is not a surprise to me, so I'm just kind of reviewing this. But the color on this actually is fairly lightly extracted for a Zinfandel of this bold nature. It's got a nice deep garnet color, but it is fairly clarified through. It doesn't have that nice intense concentrated look that many of them do. The nose, though, is all boysenberry syrup and blueberry cobbler. It's got that baking spice note of cinnamon and allspice in the back that smells like I said, like a baking pie. Right? I reminded folks that when we're talking about fruits, especially in our wine, are we talking about dried fruits, stewed or cooked fruits, or fresh fruits? Actually, let me do that the other way around. Fresh fruits being the top, brightest, juiciest, most acidic. Next down is stewed or cooked, things like syrups, compotes, jellies, and jams. And then down at the bottom, we think about things like dried fruit, like fruit leather, and dried fruit mixes. How the fruit changes flavor across those profiles. This is squarely in that cooked and stewed camp, if not full on pie filling / syrup. Big Tannenbaum, and it definitely has some alcohol running with it. This is a little bit warm. I had it set out a little bit too long because I was cleaning up the kitchen this afternoon. I set it aside and I didn't put it back in the fridge. So it's a little bit hot too. So I'm getting a lot more presentation of tannins. However, where the tannins do go, they're at least carrying a fair and firm bit of flavor. It lingers around on the tongue and definitely gives you that black currant, blackberry, kind of blueberry pie thing right there in the middle of your tongue, and it lingers around for quite a bit. This is a wine that would be a couch wine, in my opinion, where you can sit around, just have a glass, enjoy company of friends, because the wine's just going to sit there and kind of develop, and you're going to get all sorts of fun flavor experiences. For food, you got to pair this with something that also has that oomph. This is that thing where my brain goes directly to things like, well-seasoned sausages, dried charcuterie meats, weightier cheeses with lots of salt. This wine would be excellent partners for them. But it could also go with things that carry that baking spice note and do have some sweetness, because this wine isn't sweet. You can counterpost it with a little bit of sweet and balance it out. We actually enjoyed it at the show with a maple pecan coffee cake slice. And the maple pecan had this nice little, I don't know what they call it when you mix the basically the sugar and the nut and the ground nuts together and leave it in there so that it is kind of a band of flavor. The way that coffee cakes are different than regular cakes, I suppose. But anyway, that wonderful bit of sweet combined with a relatively unsweet cake with a little crunch of nuts, and this almost as a fruit dressing over it, was a really interesting combination. And it stood up well to that maple and butter and nuttiness, and it really added something to it. So think outside the box a little. You don't necessarily have to just think like with like. You can definitely throw things together that just have a harmonious sort of relationship in your mouth. Yeah, definitely something to keep right there. By the way, this is $18 a bottle, so really squarely in that range of what I would call affordable quality. Sonoma Zinfandels are probably some of my favorite. So Lodi and Sonoma are really kind of the two big homes where you're going to see a lot of excellent Zinfandel coming out. But many folks that we're gonna be visiting next week, as a matter of fact, in both regions, make excellent versions. These guys, when I looked them up to find, or when I did an image search just to find this, again, I didn't do any research prior to the show. However, this basically turned me on to the Truett Hurst Dry Creek Winery. So I wonder whether this is just a fun side project for them, because Inconspicuous Cellars led me on to that. So I don't know whether that's a full detail or not, or whether it's of interest to anyone. I might find out a little bit later. But yeah, absolutely something to go seek out. Check out your Zinfandels. Don't forget to consider your overall palates and things that you're looking at when you are hosting your particular party. The other thing to remember about that is, if you're going to have a potluck style of entertainment and food, don't forget that your multi-tool wines that span spectrums tend to be most useful. So these are things like your Rieslings and Chenin Blancs in the school world of whites, maybe a little things with a little bit of higher acid, but are do no harm, like Pinot Grigio. And then on your reds, this is where Pinot Noirs, Gamay, and lighter reds tend to fare broadly better. If you're going to choose to have a bold red, I would have it be one of several rather than the main bulk of your wines. Beaujolais Nouveau event with WineShark. Great question, Rob. I am doing the event at the Tower, which will be after the release, so it will be featured prominently then. We could absolutely do a compare and contrast one as a free Zoom tasting too, if you guys would like to. I am all for drinking that all the time during that period of time. It's just one of my. It's such an easy drink that I think, and such a crowd pleaser, if you will, that it's just kind of a no-brainer. Besides which, the key thing that I think will be, and I'm going to do this myself, is George Duboeuf really controlled a lot of the overall export for Gamay and kind of invented the style as an American tradition. Really making that third Thursday of November a special day of release. I'm really curious to find out whether we can get alternate versions. My friend Scott and I, for instance, every year try and find as many different Beaujolais Nouveaux as we can to try and compare and contrast them. So, if you guys want to play a little scavenger hunt game with me, go out and see what you can find. DeBuff and DeBone are kind of the two most common names. If you can get past that, I'd be mighty curious, because I'm not sure many others make it. So we'll have to check it out, see if there's any private labeled stuff or just good options, just all around good options from any smaller wineries. Again, I don't know how many smaller wineries do that. So, all right. Well, guys, I want to say thank you all very much. Some of you guys I will see in the next coming week. Like I said, I'll try and figure out how to get some Facebook Live stuff going. Well, it's always hard for me when I'm playing tour host for me to think about filming, because I'm just not quite that in tune with my social media of making me do a thing for a selfie, etc. So maybe I'll get my driver Matt to make sure that I take appropriate pictures and or he does for us, and maybe get us on live with a little bit. But if not, be looking over at WineShark for content updates over there, and it'll be a lot of fun. So that, and I don't have tickets on sale yet for the Tower next month, but expect that is on my list of things to do tomorrow. I've been working feverishly on the California trip today, so tomorrow I'll put up the local stuff, and the free show on Friday. Still got tickets available, because, well, we always have tickets. And that's the theme there is we're doing our Spooky Dooky wine labeling. So some previews from that. We've got Hobnob. This is their special edition of their Wicked Red blend. Little sugar skull theme going on there. We've got The Witching Hour. Oh, yeah. Nice little red here with it's just spooky because, I don't know, I guess clouds are spooky. But the name is spooky. So there's that. And then I've got the Phantom, but not the Phantom Red. I've got the Phantom Chardonnay because I've never had it. So, hey, it's still got the Phantom, and that's fun. So I hope you guys bring all of your spooky, scary ideas to the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hang out, drink some wine. It will definitely be a far more casual thing because the theme is so just esoteric. I don't know that we can show a map of spooky, although maybe I'll come up with some fun video presentations of, I don't know, places where wine and Halloween history interact. Who knows? I'll find something. You know me. I'll find something foolish for us to watch as well as just drink wine. So until such time, that's on Friday the 29th. Then next week we're off. Then the tower is on the 21st. I will also get a November Zoom meeting date set up. Again, try not to conflict with everybody's holidays. It'll probably be that Friday before the 21st, so call it the 19th. Put that on your calendars as a maybe, question mark. And then there's lots, of course, I encourage you guys, if you are interested at all in holiday shows, the calendar is booking up very quickly. So if you want a holiday or Christmas party, get on the calendar now, or even a New Year's Eve party as well. Get yourselves on the calendar so that I can make sure that you don't get disappointed by somebody getting there first. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed everything. If you guys like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button. Share with a wine-loving friend. If you really like what you see, check us out on Patreon. We get all kinds of fun extra recipes, videos that are downloaded from the Zoom meetings, and special opportunities and VIP ticket sales and things like that. So if you guys will support me there, that'd be great. And until next time, I have been your WineShark. Cheers. And I have a dog, Hello Laszlo. All right, you're a great dog.